invited to Thanksgiving. This is only for family, my dad said, casually scooping mashed potatoes onto his plate, as if I were just another stranger at the door. The rest of the table didn't flinch. Not even a glance. My sister dabbed her lips with a napkin, whispered something to her husband, and smirked. That's when I raised my glass of sparkling cider. Quietly, gracefully. Not a word left my lips. But when the toast was over, I walked out. My name is Reagan Silvers, I'm 33. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What do you do when the people who raised you erase you one holiday at a time? It wasn't sudden the way they exiled me. It started years ago, skipped invites, forgotten birthdays, changed group chats. My name slowly vanished from the guest lists until all that was left was silence. But this time they made it official. At their warm candlelit table, surrounded by laughter and apple pie, I was declared not family. The irony? That very night, their house was kept warm with the $8,600 I quietly wired to their utilities last month. Their November lights? Their cozy fireplace? All funded by the girl not invited. So, as I stepped into the icy air outside, I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app, hovered over the payments list, and with a calm, controlled swipe, I started pressing cancel. One by one, $8,600 of silence was about to speak louder than all their toasts combined. Inside, they passed gravy. Outside, I walked into the cold. And somewhere between the frost and the fury, I decided this Thanksgiving wouldn't go to waste. They thought I'd just disappear. But some ghosts don't haunt. They build. The thermostat clicked off before dessert was even cleared. My sister texted, "Is the heater broken again?" LOL. I ignored it. By midnight, Mom messaged me directly. "Can you check the heating payment? It's freezing in here." I stared at my screen. They still hadn't realized. That warmth they'd taken for granted, the quiet comfort of always having someone responsible in the background, that was me. While they toasted Ezra's new condo. While they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. While they removed me from the group family portrait that still hung above the piano. I was the shadow keeping the lights on. The one paying the gas bills they thought magically auto-covered. But this was my silence. My signature. My closure. I went to bed with my phone buzzing on the nightstand. The next morning, I made cinnamon pancakes. My kitchen filled with sunlight. Spotify played jazz. I ate slowly, syrup dripping down the sides, peace finally audible in every bite. 8:37 a.m. My phone rang. Dad. Declined. 8:40. Emma. Declined. By 9:15, there were 14 missed calls, 6 voicemails, and 1 frantic group chat revival with my name. All caps. Suddenly, I was Reagan Honey again. The back door hadn't opened in 5 years, until they needed me. But I was done being the emergency contact for people who treated me like a deleted file. Then came the knock. Not just a tap, a pounding. I opened the door slowly. And what I saw wasn't just someone from the family. It was someone holding the thing that had always been mine, and was taken without a word. It was my mother, in a robe, shivering, holding a tray of deviled eggs wrapped in foil, like peace could be brokered with hors d'oeuvres. Behind her stood my dad, Ezra, his fiancé, even Grandma, still in curlers. "Can we come in?" Mom asked, her voice cracking. I didn't move. The scent of cheap champagne and desperation clung to them. "We didn't mean what we said," Dad added quickly. "It was a joke. Thanksgiving was just tight this year." Ezra needed. I held up my hand. "You said it was only for family," I whispered. "So, why are you here?" Ezra stepped forward. "The heat's out. The backup generator failed. Mom's medication needs refrigeration, and you thought the beggar would save you?" I laughed. Quietly, deeply. Mom reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded slip of paper. "This is from the lawyer. We updated the documents. You're back in the will. Full share. A bribe in legalese." "Wow," I said, tilting my head. "The will. the heating, the guilt. They waited. But I wasn't the girl who begged for their table scraps anymore. You know what I sent with that last $8,600? I asked. They blinked. No. I smiled. Neither do I. Because you never asked what it cost me. You only cared that it cleared. Mom opened her mouth again. But I had already turned away. I shut the door, not angrily, not forcefully, just enough to let silence speak for me. They stayed out there, shivering. 30 minutes later, I got a message. From Grandma. I'm proud of you.
Call me tomorrow.
Alone. That night, I made a different kind of toast. One for the version of me who finally knew. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who sees you and stays. By morning, the family group chat had resurrected me. Green circle, please just respond. Green circle, the heat's still out. Mom's getting worse. Green circle, can you help, even just a little? I sip my coffee. Let the phone vibrate against the countertop like a broken apology. It wasn't about revenge. It was about remembering who I'd become. For 11 years, I had paid more than anyone ever asked. For birthdays, I wasn't invited to. For repairs I never got thanked for. For love that came with a receipt and 0 returns. So, I did something they never expected. I showed up at their door with a contractor
And a clipboard.
Dad opened the door, red-nosed, beaten by the cold. Are you here to help? I handed him the clipboard. What's this? An estimate. I'm willing to fix your heating. But this time, I'll invoice it properly. Mom stumbled out from behind, her lips chapped, eyes wide. You're charging us? Yes, I said softly. Like you taught me to charge the world for anything that matters. They stared. Let me be clear, I continued. No charity. No strings. This is a contract. Like adults. Ezra's fiancé burst out laughing. Seriously? You're making your family sign a contract. I turned to her. Sweetheart, I don't work for exposure. I paid for my seat at this table. I just realized it wasn't worth the price. Mom started crying. Dad signed the paper, with shaking hands. As the contractor got to work, I left. No hugs. No warmth. Just truth. I didn't need to burn the bridge. They finally saw who'd been keeping it from collapsing all along. The invoice must have haunted them. Because 2 days later, I got a call, not from Mom, not from Dad, but from Ezra. Hey, he said, voice all syrup. Can we talk? I stared at the name on my screen. My brother, the golden one. The one they all toasted when I opened my restaurant. The one who got a promotion party while I cut ribbons alone. I didn't speak. Okay, listen, he added. That SUV you used to drive, it still runs? I blinked. Why? Mom's car died. Dad's using mine. She's been stuck. Ezra, I said slowly, why are you asking me this?
He paused.
Because you always fix things. I almost laughed. Ezra, I said, I'm not a wrench. Or a backup plan.
He sighed.
So that's a no? I didn't answer. Just ended the call. But something shifted that night. Because Mom texted, we're selling the lake house. We want to repay some of what you've done. I stared at it like a hallucination. Then Dad messaged, I've asked the lawyer to take your name off the loan cosign. It was wrong of us. I sat in silence. No music. No TV. Just the hum of my own worth echoing louder than their apologies. They weren't changing because they understood. They were changing because I stopped cushioning their falls. And that was power. I stood at the window, watching the snow fall outside. For once, it didn't feel cold. For once, I wasn't the outsider pressing my face to the glass. I was the one inside, with the heat fully paid. I didn't reply to Mom's message. I didn't ask about the lake house, or the loan, or Ezra's silence. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I reserved the largest table at Bellevue, the same place they always booked for family milestones. But this time, the reservation was under my name. No shared bill. No silent exclusion. I arrived early, the staff smiling as they lit the candles. It was just me, and a thick manila envelope beside my plate. Inside, copies of every payment, transfer, and sacrifice I had made for this family since I was 22.
Rent.
Medical bills, college deposits that weren't mine, and one bakery startup that crashed within months, my loan, their dream. At exactly 7 p.m., the hostess approached. "Your guests are here, Miss Evelyn." I nodded. "Send them in." Mom entered first, all pearls and hesitation. Then Dad, looking older. Ezra trailed behind, unusually quiet. I didn't rise, just gestured to the seats. They sat without speaking. I slid the envelope across the table. "What's this?" Mom asked, her tone already defensive. "Proof," I said, "of everything I gave. Everything you erased." Ezra peeked inside, eyes scanning fast. "You brought us here to guilt trip us?" Dad snapped. I smiled softly.
No.
"I brought you here to say goodbye. Officially." "What?" Mom blinked. I stood, placed a black velvet pouch on the table. Inside was the key to the old family cabin, the one I restored alone. The one they always borrowed for vacations. "You won't need this anymore," I said. I changed the locks. Then I turned, one step at a time. No tears. No rage. Just calm. Let them sit in the candlelight with the weight of every forgotten favor. I didn't look back. Not this time. I thought that would be the end of it. But endings never come clean when ego's involved. 2 days after the Bellevue dinner, Mom showed up at my restaurant, alone, wrapped in faux humility. "I was in the area," she said, stepping inside without asking. "Thought I'd see the place. It's cute." Cute. The kitchen went silent. Even the dishwasher paused. I took a slow breath, wiping my hands on a towel. "Need something?" She hesitated, fingers toying with the pearl clasp around her throat. I wanted to talk.
About the family.
About fixing things. I raised an eyebrow. Fixing or reclaiming? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped toward the wall of framed photos. Soft openings, culinary awards, write-ups in glossy magazines. Photos she never attended, moments they never asked about. "I saw Ezra this morning," she said. "He's not doing well. Lost the car. His promotion's under review." I said nothing. "And your father? He's struggling to pay for the cabin repairs." I nearly laughed. The same cabin they locked me out of, the same one they decorated with family-only signs at Christmas. Mom finally turned to face me. "We made mistakes," she admitted. "But family's still family. Right?" That word again. Family. The one they used like a velvet rope, wrapping it around who they wanted, shutting out who they didn't. I tilted my head. "Do you want forgiveness?" I asked. "Or access?" Her mouth parted, but no words came. Behind me, my sous chef called out, a soft reminder that orders were piling up. I turned, walked back to the line. And as I plated the duck confit, I felt it. Not anger, not sadness, but a kind of quiet, sovereign peace. The kind you earn, the kind no one can take. They never said sorry. Not properly. Not once. What came instead were half-offers. A dinner invite. A forwarded funny meme. A photo from my childhood captioned, "Good times, right?" I didn't respond. Not out of bitterness, but because I had no space left for performance. The next holiday came and went. I worked a double shift that day, not because I had to, but because it felt better than sitting at a table where love came with a receipt. The restaurant thrived. Customers asked about the signature drink named Second Daughter. I'd smile and say, "It has a quiet kick." Sometimes I caught Ezra across the street, just staring through the window. Once he came in, hat in hand, eyes unsure. He looked around, took in the warmth, the laughter, the photos of regulars who'd become family.
He didn't speak.
Just nodded, like he finally understood what I built without them. And I finally stopped waiting. Stopped wishing they'd recognize my worth without requiring proof. It's funny. I once thought revenge would feel like thunder, but it turns out it feels like silence. The kind where no one's calling you a burden, where no one's mocking your dreams over dinner, where no one's draining your light just because they gave you life. Now, when I close up each night, I don't replay old fights. I just lock the doors, wipe the counters, and breathe deep. Peace is not the absence of noise. It's choosing who gets to speak into your story. And this story? This one ends with me walking home under soft streetlights, keys in hand, head held high. Not broken. Not bitter.
Just done.